in 3, 2, 1, boom. Yo, everybody, welcome back to WWJSRFHD. We got RaikouRider with some video games here. Yoshi's Cookie and Final Fantasy Randomizer. RaikouRider, I'm going to let you take the stage here and just count me down whenever you are ready to start.
Okay, perfect. So this is a Yoshi's Cookie. It's a very unique puzzle game in that it's less about raw cursor speed and more about board management. I'm going to try to explain the mechanics of the game as well as I can, but given this is a puzzle speedrun, it requires intense concentration, especially towards the second half of the game, so I probably won't be saying too much towards the second half, but I'll try to explain the mechanics of the game in the first half. But in any case...
disclaimer, the timer's going to go for this game and for Final Fantasy Randomizer, just so you know, because there won't be anybody here to reset it.
Okay.
Just so you know, so you won't have to start a timer for FFR, just get it started ASAP.
Okay, so to activate Expert, what you'll need to do is hold L, R, and X when starting the game, and then if you've done it correctly, all of the opponents will be a different color on the game screen itself. So let's go ahead and get this rolling in 3, 2, 1, go.
Alright. Have a good one, y'all.
Hey, bless, man. Thanks for everything you've done.
So the objective of Yoshi's Cookie is to make rows of 5. There's 6 distinct types of cookies, so you'll always mathematically have a match. Those 2 red bars in the center are the score. Every match that you make is worth 1 point. The goal is to get to 25 points before your opponent does. This is on the Expert difficulty, which is the highest difficulty in the game. The AI is surprisingly strong in this game. It can give even the best players fits towards the end. You might also notice beneath the characters, there's various text that cycles. That will depict an attack. When you clear 5 Yoshi cookies, you will send an attack. You can either send attacks to yourself, which you usually don't want to do, or you can send attacks to your opponent. The best way to identify whether an attack is beneficial for you or not is if you see an X on top of your character's face, and you don't want to use the attack, it's detrimental to you. If you see a circle, then that means the attack is good for you. The way you send attacks is by clearing rows of Yoshi cookies, which you get by clearing matches. You might also notice that I'm opting to go for cascades when possible. The reason why is because when you create a cascading clear, you get 5 Yoshi cookies out of it, which conveniently is enough to make an attack. Typically when you get down to the last few points, you want to just try to race rather than get to with attacks. The game does not have a huge following, but the people that do are pretty avid about it. I want to give a shout out to Metabot, hashtag ProYoko, hashtag GYCL, hashtag esports. So especially towards the end of the run, I'm not going to be doing too terribly much talking, because in order to beat the bots at the highest level, you have to play very, very efficiently. And realistically in this game, because of the limitations with the cursor speed, there is a maximum rate that you can play at. And if you do clear multiple Yoshi Cookie matches at the same time, the effects of the attacks will stack. So you might notice that that slave that I sent was lasting for twice the usual amount of time. So what there are 4 different kinds of attacks. Anything that says plus or minus and then a number, like that +3 that the computer just took, That will adjust your score by that many points. Blind will cover the inner 9 tiles of your opponent's board for 6 seconds. A Slave will gain control of your opponent's cursor for 6 seconds. And Panic will randomly shuffle the tiles for 6 seconds. And that's one of those cases where you really need to be conscious of your Yoshi Cookie matches at any given time. Because you can inadvertently send yourself attacks, and that is not good, especially towards the end. When the computers get a lot more difficult to defeat, especially during Bowser. Bowser will give you no quarter whatsoever. Attack RNG does play a significant factor. So if you get really good attack RNG like this, you can drown your opponent in slaves and panics, and they kinda don't get to play the game. So you might have noticed there, I took advantage of Slave to use my opponent's Yoshi Cookies against them. That is one of the fundamentals of high-level play. And there came a situation that, while not necessarily an absolute to avoid, making too many Yoshi Cookies is something that you need to be conscientious of at all times. And that'll do it for the first opponent, Mario. The goal of this game the goal of the run is to defeat all 4 computer opponents. I am going to be taking my time a little bit in the menus because you do need to defeat the 4 computers in a row to actually get the game's ending. Well, this will be a nice combo. Now, creating a combo clear beyond 2 matches does not actually grant you additional Yoshi Cookies. But it does pad your score very efficiently. And in order to get a combo clear of any kind, for 5 Yoshi Cookies, the matches do need to include they need to include at least 2 non-Yoshi Cookie matches. That was too early. Now, all the characters do have different attributes, and that does affect the best strategy for fighting them. Yoshi has higher defense than the rest of the characters, so that means that your attacks will only last for 6 seconds instead of 3. So the best way to battle Yoshi is to focus only on attacks that adjust the score. You still want to make matches when you can. The #1 rule of this game is just keep moving. So, oftentimes, if you have too many Yoshi Cookies, you can find yourself waiting around for an appropriate match, or not an appropriate match, but an appropriate attack. And any time that you spend waiting around for a good attack is time that you could spend making matches and putting points on the board. So it's just something to be conscientious of when you're playing, is not spending too much time just idling for a better attack. typically, if I see it change to a bad attack, I'll just abandon the Yoshi Cookie match and set up a different match. But generally speaking, when you're doing RTAs of this game, you want to go out of your way to try to set up a match. If you do see that, if you do see the positive score come up for your side, the exception to this is Bowser, because during the Bowser fight, he's so difficult that you would play it much like you would a PvP game. Attacking efficiency is another thing to bring up as well. If you can, try to make your attacks with Yoshi cookies by clearing 4 Yoshi cookies instead of 5, making them the second link of the chain. That way your attacks are most efficient. So there's a lot to keep track of when you play this game at the highest level. That was a good round. That's the easy half. Now we go on to the more difficult half. Peach is the weakest character in a vacuum, but has very strong AI. She can either be the easiest opponent or the toughest opponent, just depending on how attacks go. Peach's attacks cycle twice as quickly as other characters. However, she also has half the defense that other characters do, meaning any attacks that you deal her last twice as long. So if you get the correct attack RNG, she could be pretty helpless. So this is a case where, against this opponent, you will want to focus primarily on attacks that stall your opponent. So against other opponents, these -3 attacks would be great, but not this one. And of course it's giving me nothing but -3s. And it's still a fine attack. I probably don't want that. The Peach and Bowser AIs are actually smart enough to, when they slave you, to try to use your own Yoshi cookies against you. They're also a little bit less affected by blind than other computers are. I will take this -7 and be very happy. So -7 has a much smaller chance to show up than other attacks. Because it's pretty game-breaking if you get it off. Unlike all the other attacks, which have an equal probability to show up, -3 only will show up 3 out of every 256 attacks. But if you can get it off, it's devastating. Usually it secures a win. Okay. Now, when you're about to win, giving the AI a +3 is no big deal. World record for this, if you're curious, is 21:36 by myself. And this is what I was getting at by Peach's defense typically being her downfall. She's not going to get to play the game for a while. Caught that just in time. That's valuable. It just anytime you can make a +3, it's so valuable. Probably spent too much time waiting for that attack, even though it was a good one. If it wasn't so late in the game, I would actually not be overly worried. I would put a lot more focus, rather, on making sure that I use those Yoshi cookies of hers against her, but when you're just a few points away from victory, it's better just to focus on getting those last few points. Don't try to give your opponent a chance to come back. I don't want to give her a +3. But at the highest levels of play, it's very, very important to watch both screens. I'm gonna have to take this. This is gonna suck, but I have to take it. I really wanted to get a better attack than Panic. Ideally, +3 for myself. Cool. Pretty sure I caught that just in time. Alright, that's a 3-0 sweep of Peach. No drop games so far, which is good for a marathon run. But that can all change with Bowser. Alright, Bowser is the last opponent, and he's very, very hard. Okay, so Bowser's gimmick is that his fuse timer ticks down twice as fast. That's another thing that I failed to touch on earlier, is that little fuse timer in the corner. If that runs out completely, you lose. Bowser's fuse timer drains twice as fast as the other characters. On high time speed, You only have 10 seconds to make a match with him. Oh, hey, double panic! Except his lasts twice as long, that's right. So this is one of the things that I was a bit worried about happening. Is because Bowser's attacks last twice as long as the other characters, he can just stun lock you, and you can't give him any quarter whatsoever. So I'm just gonna delete his Yoshi cookies. The reason why Bowser is blue is because the alternate palettes indicate that you are playing on Expert. Nice! Got that off just in time. That was about to change, too. One of the biggest skills that that top players have is just not letting blind affect them. If you're being conscientious of your board, even setting up combos underneath blind is not as difficult as you think. But if you forget where your board is, it can be really bad. And now he's gonna give himself a +3. This is trouble. Critical -3. Nice. Great way to finish. Oh, not yet. Alright, last game. It would be so amazing to get a no-miss run for a marathon. Getting a no-miss run in this category is absolutely insane. Little disappointed I won't be able to pick up the +3, but stalling Bowser is very important. I might actually be able to get a timer scum on him. Nope, not quite. Close though. Time. Wow. That's a really, really good time for a marathon. That's about 2 minutes off record. And very few people will get to see this next screen. So that's Yoshi's Cookie versus Computer. So now I'm going to set up for some Final Fantasy randomizer, and we're going to need some audience participation for this one. So I'll set up for that real quick. I'll need a little bit of extra time. Apparently I didn't pre-generate a seed, so I need to do that real quick. Shouldn't take more than a few minutes.